Welcome to your Dogcast, where we feature news just for dog lovers. Here's your Rover Reporter, Mary Lou Davidson.
Hey, welcome back to the Rover Reporter. And today I want to talk about the fact that my dog is chubby. And it's true, I do have a chubby dog. And sadly, I'm not alone. A little research told me that between 50 and 60% of dogs in the US are overweight. We're going to solve that today. I've brought in an expert. His name is Kyle Baker. He specializes in canine nutrition, and he works with DogPerfect in Sarasota, Florida. Hi, Kyle. How are you?
All right. How's everybody doing? I'm doing great. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, we're doing well. So my puppy went from being lean and mean to suddenly, a little chubby. She's a mini Aussie American Shepherd. And one of the things I wanted to ask you is like, do certain breeds lend themselves to being overweight? It seems like, mini Aussies can be kind of stocky. And I think I overlooked that because that's what I had heard until suddenly here we are, need to do something. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could say it's directed to one breed itself, but just like you said, I mean, 50 to 70% of all dogs out there is overweight. So it is a problem in all breeds of dogs. But yes, so dogs who tend to have larger hips, like your breed, those dogs are it's harder to see how bigger they're getting because they have the wide hips, just like your labs do too. So what I always tell people, it's always about in the stomach range. If your dog looks like a straight sausage and you're not seeing any curves going into the hip, that's the sign we're already getting overweight. A lot of people don't think their dog's overweight until you get even way past that point.
yeah.
So so that's the thing, is paying attention to body conformation on those dogs and understanding that they're supposed to slightly go in the hips. And as long as you're not seeing seeing three ribs or the hips pointing up, then your dog is in a good weight. And that's the one thing that I always try to talk to everybody is it's okay to see one rib or two ribs. It's three ribs and the hip bone sticking out is a dog underweight. And dogs do better when they're lean. Leaner dogs can get around better. It's better for their joints. It's better for their skin. It's better for their energy. It's just better altogether for their immune system themselves. The same thing for humans, it's the same concept.
Yeah.
Obesity brings on all kinds of problems.
And a leaner dog is going to live longer, let's face it. And that's what we
Live
all.
longer. Yep. Live longer and better quality of life. So the question always is why is dogs get overweight? I mean, that is the thing. So there's two things that I have recognized as major problems through the habits of people with dogs. The first one is reading the back of the bag to see how much my dog needs to eat. So the dog food companies have you feed anywhere from 15 to 20% more than what a dog's caloric intake actually needs. So the quick sign of how you know if you're feeding too much, if your dog's is pooping more than 2 times a day, 2 to 3 to 4 times a day, we are overfeeding. That is a number one sign of overfeeding. Or if you start noticing your dog has nice tight stools and then towards the end they get a little bit looser and looser and looser, again, that's another sign that we're overfeeding. Our body's not able to absorb all of those nutrients. So I have a formula that you can utilize to figure out how many KCals your dogs need in a day. And I'll share that with you, and then we can get it in some kind of written form so it's easier for everybody to see. But it's what your dog's ideal body weight is. So say your dog is 20 pounds, and that's the body weight you want them. You take 20, you divide that by 2.2, you times that by 30, and then you add 70 to it. And that equals your dog's KCals in a day. And then you can go to the back of any bag of dog food, and you're going to see KCals per cup. So then you take that number that you got, and then you divide it by KCals and cups, and that's going to tell you exactly what your dog needs to eat in a day. So just understanding that and working the right KCals out, you're going to see your dog being a lot leaner, and their actually energy picks up, and they're a more excitable dog. So that is the number one reason why I see dogs obese, is just following what the companies tell you to feed. The
Yeah.
second one, go ahead.
So that's in a perfect world if everybody's eating just kibble, but like me, a lot of people will put some kind of a topper on, or maybe some kind of, healthy table scrap, um, trying to hold back using restraint with that, like a little over a teaspoon, less than a tablespoon, just to give it some oomph. So,
So that is number two. Where you're right at is where I was about to really jump into, is the number two is nobody takes an account of the toppers, the extras, and the treats that we give our dog in a day. And so that all needs to be built into our KCal formula themselves. Um, so so like when I work with people, instead of just trying to say, hey, you need to count everything you're doing, you need to do that. What I do is I find out how many calories their dogs need in a day. So say your dog needs a 20-pound dog is going to need approximately 600 or 580 some calories in a day. So what I would do on their feeding is I always ask them, how many treats do you give your dog a day? Oh, I love giving my dogs treats, and plus I like sharing with them. So at that point, I take about 20% of their KCals off to figure out what they need to feed for the day, because I'm building in those toppers and those supplements on those toppers and those treats built into their caloric intake. And if you really want your dog to lose weight, I could actually sit down with you and go, all right, how much of the canned food are you feeding? How much of the raw are you feeding? How much of the table scraps? And then I can actually work out exactly what you need to do on that. But the general rule is most people treat their dogs about 10 to 15% of their caloric intake. So that's kind of what I always build in. So say a dog needs 1,000 calories a day. I will go to and have them feed 900 calories in their food, and understanding the other 100 calories is coming from their toppers, treats, and other things in that nature. But that
okay.
is the number two reason why we have obesity, is because nobody takes treats, rewards, or toppers in account for the KCals throughout the day.
Yeah. So are there any like free treats like the freeze-dried chicken strips, or are there any like healthy treats that we can give in abandon?
So usually in dogs, feeding more of your jerky meats, your freeze dried, your dehydrated is actually a better treat option. Even though it has a little bit higher fat than some of your biscuits out there, you're reducing all those carbs, starches, and sugars. Glycemic level is the reason why I believe we have major obesity in there. And the same reason why I don't think a lot of your weight management foods quite work. Because your weight management foods, the whole idea is they take out fat. But you still, when you take something out, you still have to add something in to get 100%. And what they add back in is extra carbs and starches. So it's kind of counterintuitive to lose
Yeah.
weight when you're adding more sugars in towards it all. So that's why it's hard once you get a dog overweight. Well, how do I get them to lose weight when the weight management foods really don't truly work to that point? And so then I work with people and go, well, we'll keep your dog on the same food he's eating. We're just going to make sure he's getting the right amount. And if we need him if we want him to lose weight faster, there's a handful of canned foods out there that are 1 to 2% fat. That if you supplement, say, 20 to 30% of your dog's kibble with those canned foods that are really low in fat and have no carbs in them, then you're taking fat and 20 to 30% of your fats and carbs out of your dog's diet through the day. And the diet tastes better. And now we're getting to the point where we can lose weight itself. So one of the companies I always the first company I always go to on a canned food is a company called Rover. So if any of you guys out there have a dog who's losing weight, Rover has the fat amount in their food is 1.4% is the highest amount. They have no carbs in their food at all. And it's an easy way to get a dog to lose weight is by supplementing some of their food with that. And their dogs will love the diet even more because now you're adding that more of the freshness towards it, the broth towards it all. So you're exciting the dog even more to want to eat, and he'll be losing weight during those times.
And what do you think about those interactive feeding toys, like the puzzles that kind of help your dog slow down, or maybe a lick mat or something like that?
So those can help lose weight a little bit, but those are more for stimulation. But when your mind is stimulated and your mind is working, your body's metabolizing. So if we're searching for food, we're looking for food, we're trying to figure out how to get the food, that's going to increase metabolization, which is going to absorb food a lot better. But the main purpose for those is to stop a dog from being bored, from stop a dog from chewing on his, licking on his paws, barking at the window. So through research, they found out 15 minutes of searching and rescue and figuring out food for a dog takes more energy and mind capacity than a 2-hour walk. So you can walk your dog 2 hours and he's going to be metabolizing that same energy, or you can give him a 15-minute puzzle and he's going to be metabolizing that same energy. So that's where those things work out. It just gets that body to start metabolizing and utilizing that energy that is needed.
That's so awesome, because who has time for 2 hours?
2-hour walks, nobody does. That's crazy. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Um, One thing I've noticed, my dog's two now, and as we're walking, it's really more of a sniffing expedition. So it's hard to get any cardio action going when you have to stop at every mailbox post. So yeah, so that's one of my excuses. But I did actually try one of the sniff spots where you can bring your dog and play off leash, and that was great for getting her to run and play, as opposed to, she was still exploring and sniffing, but I have to feel like exercise is part of this equation.
Definitely is. If you can get your dogs moving, it will always help out. And that's tough on some people's lifestyles. So I'm a big fan. If you got a backyard, get a toy. It's called the Chuck It. It throws a tennis ball, and then this toy will pick the tennis ball off the ground, so you never have to pick up a slobbery tennis ball, and it sits there and throws it for you.
Yeah.
Always recommend a Chuck It for these dogs to get that exercise with. And then, in my house, I do search and rescue games in my house. So I'll take little treats and things like that, and I'll hide it in 6 to 8 different places throughout my house. And when my dog will go and search for it, but then throughout the whole rest of the night, what he keeps on doing is rechecking, rethinking. So although I haven't said anything out, his mind is thinking maybe there's something out. And so that's encouraging him to keep on moving and keep on metabolizing. So exercise is great, but mind stimulation will also work out. And tricking your dog to move by thinking there's things hidden in the house that he's going to search for, that will keep his mind thinking, and that will keep him metabolizing himself. We got too many stagnant dogs who spend too much time on couches, don't have chew toys, nobody's throwing balls with them, nobody's playing tug of war with them, nobody's going on walks, and your body just slows down, your metabolism slows down at that point, and then weight starts sticking on. And that's why you usually see the problems start occurring when dogs get 4, 5, 6 years old, because now they're just becoming a feature of the house instead of the main show of the house. And so people are not playing with them as much. Attention is not enough. And so their metabolism slows down and the weight starts to gain.
Yeah.
Same concept that we have, same problem that we all have.
So we kind of glossed over your evening routine where you hide treats around the house. Can we unpack that a little bit? Like, what
Yeah.
kind of treats are you hiding where? And do you try to do it out of sight of your dog, or?
So I start. So my dog sees me start the process, but he doesn't see everywhere everything goes. And I use anything from I've used vegetables, I've used kibble, I've used freeze dried treats. I just use a variety of anything and everything out there to do, and I change it up, and I change it up because that stops boredom. A dog will always get excited to take treats from you, but if it's constantly the same treat, if he's got a search and rescue for it, his motivation is going to go down a little bit on that. But dogs always get excited about taking things from their alpha. So no matter what comes out of your hand, they're going to eat it. But when you spread it around the house, it's a little bit of a different ball game. So I try to do a variety. I do use kibble every so often. I use a lot of freeze dried and jerky. Those are my main things that I like to do and hide around. And I'll hide it under a couch. Sometimes I take paper plates and I'll put that on top of a chair and put some treats over that. Sometimes I'll put it behind something that I know he can move with his nose or his paw. It's not going to create a mess, and I change it up all the time. It's funny. I mean, my dog throughout the night will constantly be searching. He'll be searching. He'll get bored and like, boom, I'm going to search again. And you see that excitement in his eyes, and that's what you always want to go for. Keep those dogs a moving. Keep them a moving, just like us. Keep us a moving.
Yeah, that's awesome, Kyle. What's your dog's name?
So I got Toby and I got Lola, and then I got Crazy Licky Louie.
Okay, and what kind of dogs do you have?
Two pit labs and a Rottweiler.
Nice. So how is the Roddy weight wise?
So she's the one that's the hardest to keep maintained. But I keep her fluctuate around 90 pounds.
Mm.
And what I've noticed with her is it's the sugars. So if I start giving too much processed kibble and too many biscuits, that's when it happens with her. So I use more fresh things with the Roddy. And plus she's 12 years old. So she's an older dog. So she's not getting as much exercise. So I add more fresh to her, and that seems to stabilize her weight a lot better. Feeding fresh foods, gently cooked diets, raw diets, home cooked diets, you're always going to have a better chance of keeping weight down and losing weight off those types of diets. And the reason is no matter how good the kibble is on the market, it takes a minimum amount of 30% carbs or starches to hold the protein together in a kibble itself. So you're going to have always extra amounts of sugars, carbs, and starches in a kibble that you won't have in fresh foods, freeze-dried foods, dehydrated foods, and even a lot of your canned foods out there.
Okay. So if someone wanted to get in touch with you, Kyle, what's the best way for them to do that?
So you can get on dogperfect.com and click. There's a consultation button on there, and it'll just fill out your email and phone number, and then that directly links it to me, and then I will contact you after that. You're always more than welcome to call Dog Perfect stores, and they will get you in contact with me. Or if you want, you can always go to Kyle.Baker at dogperfect.com, which is my personal email. Send me any questions or concerns or what you need help on, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. But today, just today in the store, I've already done 5 caloric breakdowns for overweight dogs,
Wow.
and I can tell you each one of them, after I told them how much they should be feeding, they're like, man, I feed a cup more than that. I feed a cup and a half more than that, because they're going from the back of the bags of what it's saying. So that's the one thing that I always want to get out there is we cannot trust those backs of the backs of those bags. Unfortunately, these companies are made to sell more food, and the only way they sell more food is if your dog eats more food. Unfortunately, these companies don't really truly look at the best health for dogs. It's how they can sell the most foods. So always double check that. And again, the formula that you want to go is your dog's ideal body weight divided by 2.2 times 30 plus 70, and that's going to tell you exactly how many KCals your dog needs in a day. But again, if you ever need help on that or ever better understanding on it, feel free to reach out to me or one of the associates at DogPerfect, and we'd be more than happy to help you out on that.
That's awesome, Kyle. And we'll post that formula along with this video so that folks can commit it to memory and use it. Now, Dog Perfect has an online store now too, right?
Yep, we do have an online store, so we do delivery. So you can kind of see the options that we do carry in store.
Hey, Kyle, thank you so much because we've learned a lot and hopefully we can get our dogs slimmer and ready for spring in a healthier mode. Appreciate your help.
I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it, Miss Mary Lou, and I will talk to you all hopefully one day here soon.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.